not well coordinated with the awards and all of you who are engaged as supporters and advocates on behalf of victims' rights in America. Congressman Ted Poe may have mentioned earlier that when he and I were first elected as freshmen, we have obviously different backgrounds. He is a judge from Texas. Myself as a person from California that's been involved over the years on a host of victims' rights issues, decided that as new members of Congress that we would put together a bipartisan congressional caucus to advocate on behalf of victims and their families who have been impacted by, in many cases, horrific crimes in our country. And to do several things, to not just be advocates, but also to ensure that we protect the VOCA funding that President Reagan, back in the early 1980s, within the Democratic Congress on a bipartisan basis, ensured that criminals, whether they be violent or nonviolent, that were convicted, that their illegal, ill-gotten gains were confiscated and put in a fund. And that fund, for now 30 years, has provided monies for victims and their families to try to deal with assistance for them. And in the worst case scenario, obviously, has provided for their internment. But this fund has been maintained on a bipartisan basis now for 3 decades. And that is one of the primary goals of the Victims' Rights Caucus. But in addition to that, we support legislation that we think is important to all of the umbrella organizations that are represented here today. And then one of the third things that we do that Ted and I take a great deal of pleasure as our other caucus members is once a year we get to recognize individuals and groups throughout the country that provide support for victims' rights throughout the United States. And so this is that time of year in which we get to groups are nominated throughout the country, both organizations as well as individuals, and members have an opportunity to nominate individuals and groups from their congressional districts that are so deserving to be recognized. And that's what we're doing this morning, and we appreciate all of your advocacy. We appreciate, more importantly, all of your efforts on behalf of victims throughout the United States and the organizations that you're a part of. Last year I was able, for example, to nominate a group, the Marjorie Mason Center in Fresno, that provides support and has for 20 years now for families and that have been abused, spousal abuse, and women and children, providing shelter for those families and providing support for those families. And the Marjorie Mason Center, like many of your organizations and centers throughout the country, do such incredible work. And we're thankful for that. So I get to introduce a colleague and a friend who serves on the Foreign Affairs Committee, who's been an advocate and a stalwart on behalf of families and those that have been impacted. He hails from the great state of New Jersey and represents the 4th District. It's his 16th term. He also serves as chairman of the African Global Health and Human Rights Subcommittee. Focusing on human rights has been a passion of Chris Smith's, I know, because I've served with him throughout his time in Congress. He has fought, come up here, Chris, for victims' rights, especially on human trafficking, which he will speak on. He's the author of America's 3 landmark anti-human trafficking laws, including the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000. Yes, we can applaud. A comprehensive law designed to prevent modern-day slavery and to prevent victims and enhance civil and criminal penalties against traffickers. So let us give a great welcome as we present Congressman Chris Smith to present the Eva Murillo Unsung Hero Award. Chris?
Both good friends and colleagues, Judge Poe and Congressman Costa for their vision in putting together this caucus. It not only honors and recognizes people for the heroism that they have exhibited, but it also is a lightning rod and walks point on ensuring that victims' rights are protected in current law and new laws as we're moving forward. And they've done an amazing job. It's in a place where so many people say that bipartisanship is dead. Not here, not now, and not with the Victims' Rights Caucus. So thank you so much for and just let me say briefly that when we wrote the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, that too was the product of a very serious effort at right, left, and everyone in the middle, as well as bipartisanship. And it's the only way to enact meaningful legislation I would respectfully submit in the U.S. House or Senate. So again, Congressman Costa, thank you for your excellent leadership. Let me I have been asked to present an award along with my friends and colleagues who co-chair this caucus. It's the Eva Murillo Unsung Hero Award, and it's to a constituent from my district in Jackson Township. Nicole Norberto was only 15 when she was sexually assaulted. Out of disappointment and keen frustration with a system that was supposed to protect her, she took bold action and demonstrated strength and courage beyond her years, and which led to the successful enactment in New Jersey of Nicole's Law. With the steady support of her family, including her mother, Michelle, who is here today, she sacrificed her own safety and comfort so future victims would be protected. Her persistence, hard work, and dedication are the reasons that I'm proud to present her with this award on behalf of the Victims' Rights Caucus. And now Ted's back. Ted Poe, again, a great leader. We served together on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and not only domestically but internationally, he's always working for victims of human rights abuse as well. In brief, after the arrest of her attacker, Nicole sought prosecution of the man who had assaulted her and appropriate restraints to protect herself from further harassment and abuse. She was advised by the court clerk that she could not request a restraining order from the judge because she was not in a, quote, dating relationship with her attacker. At that time in New Jersey, victims of sexual assault who fell outside of the domestic violence statute were not eligible for permanent restraining orders. Without a civil restraining order statute and no authority for the judge to issue a continuance of the no contact order, which was statutorily was set to end when her attacker was released from government supervision, Nicole was left with no legal recourse for protection unless her assailant were to break the law again. According to the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, approximately 2/3 of assaults are committed by someone known to the victim, and 38% are a friend or acquaintance. Accordingly, at the time of Nicole's assault, New Jersey law did not provide a remedy for almost 40% of sexual assault victims. So Nicole made a choice to put her own safety and comfort at risk to ensure that others would not be saddled with the same inequities in the law she faced as a victim of sexual assault, not in a, quote, dating relationship. Nicole began working on a draft legislation that protects future victims from abuse that she suffered by her attacker and his associates after coming forward. Nicole worked with State Senator Bob Singer, and County Prosecutor Tom Callagher, who's now the mayor of Toms River, to help craft and successfully shepherd into law Nicole's Law. Nicole enumerated several new restrictions a judge can order to provide protection to victims of sexual assault, including the continuance of the protection order and the state's role when the state's role had ended. In addition to the permanent protection provided by Nicole's Law, it also provides, in Nicole's case, once her no-contact order expired and her attacker was released from government supervision, she was left with no recourse for protection unless, the assailant broke the law again. This will encourage victims to come forward, because so often victims of violence, abuse, especially sexual violence, don't come forward out of fear of retaliation and the continuance of that horrific behavior. So this legislation is a model, we believe, for the nation. I've introduced legislation at her request that would try to replicate Nicole's law throughout the country, but she has been a champion, and again, at grave risk to herself. And we're so proud of her, and again, that legislation that bears her name, it would not have been law without her. So thank you.
It is such an honor to be here to receive this award. I appreciate the Victims' Right Caucus for the work that you guys do for victims everywhere. I just want to thank everyone so much for believing in me and making all of this possible. I never thought just an ordinary person like me could ever make a difference, but boy was I wrong. It goes to show that anyone can make a change. All it takes is hard work and determination. No dream is too far out of reach, and nothing is impossible. Back in 2003, when I was sexually assaulted, my whole life was turned upside down. Not only had something horrible happened to me, but also it turned out that there wasn't really any law protecting victims from attackers who are just acquaintances or friends. So I made it my mission to fix this loophole. Along the way, I fell in love with helping other victims. Being able to do something for the victims just makes me truly happy. Thank you again to all my friends and family who have been there with me through the ups and downs. You guys really are my support team. And a special thanks to Congressman Chris Smith and Kate Benedetti. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. You're a role model and a heroine to all of us, and thank you for your tenacity and your advocacy. God bless you. I have the pleasure to introduce another colleague of ours. This individual is more than my neighboring congressman. He is a dear friend and has been for years before we ever came